For some reason, it seems like a lot of people like to diss James Corden. Not only that, but it seems like celebs are getting in on the action too. While not everyone is a fan of the Late Late Show host, we have to admit he takes it all in stride. Before we jump into it, be sure you're subscribed to the Taco for more awesome videos like this. Halle Berry. It seems like we haven't seen much from Oscar winner Halle Berry lately. She's known for her dramatic roles and even more dangerous curves. So what could James Corden have done to get on her bad side? Well, luckily this one isn't so drama-filled. The actress appeared on TBS's Drop the Mic with James, and let's just say things got a little heated. If you aren't familiar with Drop the Mic, it's a spin-off of a popular segment on the Late Late Show with James Corden. On his namesake show, James pairs himself against a guest and they diss each other through a rap battle. Apparently, this was so popular that TBS figured they'd turn it into a whole show. And don't let her sweet exterior fool you, Halle brought the heat. She dissed the Late Show host for that infamous kiss with Sean Spicer, during which she claimed she wouldn't stoop as low as to tell fat jokes, but she asked who was holding James' pizza when he gave Sean a peck on the cheek. It was meant to be funny, but ouch, Halle. We won't say that line threw James completely off his game because it's not appropriate for this channel, but let's just say it had something to do with getting physical with Jeff Sessions. Sir Patrick Stewart. Back in 2010, James Corden hadn't made the jump over the pond to the US market yet, but that doesn't mean he hadn't already made a name for himself in the UK. That didn't keep a certain big-time celebrity from insulting him in front of everyone. While he was hosting the Glamour Woman of the Year Awards in Britain, James Corden received some negative feedback from Sir Patrick Stewart. What makes it worse is that the infamous actor actually body-shamed the now late-night show host. Apparently, James was standing on the stage with his hands in his pockets, which was enough to set Sir Stewart off. When he told James to stop, he told him it was because he could see his belly, as if that was such a horrible offense. Of course, James was quick to make light of the situation, but the two exchanged insults in front of the rest of the audience. Can you say awkward? Thankfully, all the bad blood is in the past. In 2015, the duo finally made up and even performed their infamous magic routine together on James' show. Though they were a little rusty, it was nice to see them getting along again. Bryan Adams. So this next celebrity may not have actually dissed James Corden on television, but the fact that he wasn't on his show was a huge insult. Let us explain. If you are a fan of James Corden and the Late Late Show with James Corden, then you probably know his popular carpool karaoke segment. Those of you who don't know about it, you're really missing out. James invites his favorite musical talents like Mariah Carey and Bruno Mars and drives them around while singing their songs. Most of the time, the singers and artists love it, but other times it gets a little awkward. That's where Bryan Adams comes in. If you're under the age of 30, you may not know who Bryan Adams is, but believe us, in 1984, he was a big deal. Because of this, James decided to invite him on the show for carpool karaoke, but there was a catch. Bryan was meant to be part of a collaboration of artists from the 80s that were paying tribute to the decade. Sadly, it didn't seem like Bryan got the memo, and when he showed up to film his part, he was hit with the news. Upon seeing who else was in the segment, the artist merely left without saying a word and never looked back. Ouch. David Beckham. We couldn't imagine soccer star David Beckham ever being mean to anyone. He has a reputation for being one of the nicest celebs around. But when things started heating up between David Beckham and James Corden, it got ugly pretty quickly. Thankfully, it was all just a joke. You didn't think David Beckham would insult James on TV on purpose, did you? The world-famous athlete appeared on The Late Late Show and the two performed in a skit together. In the skit, the two were playing themselves auditioning to the new James Bond. We know, the premise alone is already hilarious. Throughout the audition, the two try to sabotage each other, and time again, David fat shames James. Of course, he didn't really do this, it was James' writers, but still, it made for great TV. By the end of the skit, the men were up in arms and even slapping each other. That's when the casting director split them up and kicked them out. The whole thing was really entertaining, and watching David drill James with insults was pretty impressive. Thankfully, it was all pretend, and in real life, these two are total buds. Mariah Carey. Is anyone else not surprised Mariah Carey shows up on this list? She has the reputation of being a lot to handle. The fact that she even appeared on The Late Late Show with James Corden is pretty shocking. While she didn't directly insult the show host, she pretty much dissed him by not knowing who he was. Okay, maybe she knew who he was, but she had never seen his infamous carpool karaoke segment. How could anyone miss this popular skit? It's literally gone viral almost every time a new artist shows up. Well, when you are as busy as Mariah Carey, you just don't have time for pedestrian things like late night show skits. Or at least that's what she made it seem like when she found herself in the passenger seat of Carpool Karaoke. When the singer filmed her version of the popular segment, she had no idea she was supposed to actually sing along, which is the whole point of the segment. Okay, she has a free pass for this one. MARIAH was actually the first singer to appear on the segment, so she really had nothing else to go on. This was after the show couldn't find any artist to actually sign on to do it, so maybe this wasn't such a bad deal after all. Helen Mirren. She may seem sweet as pie, but don't let Helen Mirren's age and appearance fool you. She can totally own a rap battle session. Helen isn't known for her rapping skills, but she's yet another actress that went head-to-head with James on Drop the Mic. This was back when it was still just a segment on James' show, and as we said before, this was a skit that put two celebs against one another to duke it out using rap disses. The fact that Helen Mirren signed up for something like this was shocking enough, but when she started piling on the insults, the audience went wild. When James rapped about her relationship with Liam Neeson back in the 80s, the actress was quick to hit back. She basically claimed that James was obsessed with her exes and that she was probably the reason he started liking girls when he was younger. But let's be honest, she said it in a far cruder way that we can't repeat here on this channel. Either way, it was a fun burn and the audience loved it. Yet again, this wasn't a real celebrity feud, but it was exciting to watch these two go back and forth. Britney Spears. Raise your hand if you watched Britney Spears on Carpool Karaoke and lost your mind the whole time. It seemed like the pop star was having a blast, and we can't lie, we were too. But it turns out that might not have been the case for our girl Brit. While this revelation may not have been made on television, the singer had a few things to say about her whole experience during a radio interview. Britney spoke about her appearance on The Late Late Show with James Corden and said she was less than thrilled about it. In fact, she really didn't want to sing the song Oops, I Did It Again and Baby One More Time. We know, we are just as shocked as you. Why would she agree to do the segment and not think two of her most iconic songs wouldn't surface? According to the pop star, she went along with it because James was so nice. Then, to add insult to injury, she said the whole segment was really awkward. Oh, and she called James the guy because even after spending a whole afternoon with him, she still didn't learn his name. If that isn't a blow to James' ego, then we don't know what is. JULIAN CASABLANCAS. There are two types of musical artists in the world, those who love the spotlight and those who don't. It seems like JULIAN CASABLANCAS of The Strokes falls on the list of those who don't. When he appeared on The Late Late Show with James Corden, it was a little awkward for everyone involved. We can't tell if he didn't like James touching him at the top of the interview or if he just didn't want to be there, but it was obvious the two didn't have any on-camera chemistry. It is James' job to get his guests to open up, and usually he does a great job. Sadly, he utterly failed when it came to JULIAN, but that might have something to do with the weird setup of the whole thing. Sometimes James likes to interview his musical guests at a fake bar on set. We aren't sure why, but it's worked before. But when he tried to do this with JULIAN, it was just painful to watch, and JULIAN was disengaged entirely, which is pretty insulting for a host who is pulling at straws to get you to talk. Liam Gallagher. Out of everyone on this list, Liam Gallagher probably had the harshest things to say about James Corden. For those of you who weren't 90s kids, Liam Gallagher was an Oasis, a hit band in the 90s. Being from the UK, Liam was familiar with James' resume and he let GQ magazine know what he thought about him. In 2017, the musician was asked if he had ever appeared on Carpool Karaoke, and he didn't have the nicest answer. He shouted out a few expletives and said no over and over in various insulting ways. Not to mention the fact that he called James the fat bloke. We aren't sure why so many people like to body shame James, but we are sure he is sick of hearing it. You would think after hearing all these things, James would never want Liam on his show, but you would be mistaken. Just a couple of months later, the musician made his debut on The Late Late Show and he was singing a different tune after. When asked what he thought about James Corden, he had nothing but nice things to say. We applaud the late night host for having the gall to even put up with the guy who insulted him, let alone making him a fan. Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart is known for his ruthless wit and hilarious comedy, so it should be no surprise that he was the perfect person to take on James Corden on Drop the Mic. When the two took the stage, the insults came spewing out almost immediately, and let's just say they did not disappoint. James went first and took the easy joke by making fun of Kevin's height, but the actor was having none of it. His first diss to the late night host consisted of telling him he'd go homeless one day, as well as fans being let down that he's not Ricky Gervais. In his second round, the comedian let James know how boring and unimportant important he thought he was, which had to sting a little. And to finish him off, Kevin blasted James by saying, "You're a loser, you're not gonna win. You're the perfect host to make Jimmy Kimmel feel thin." This, of course, had the audience in hysterics, and we aren't going to lie, it's pretty funny. But we are sick of these celebs body shaming poor James. He took it all in good stride though, and we have to say, after all the flack James Corden gets, he seems like a pretty awesome guy. Which celeb diss did you think was the most harsh? Tell us what you think in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the taco. Thanks for watching!